Life is full of situations that can test our patience. People will say things that rub us the wrong way, act in ways we don't understand, and sometimes seem to go out of their way to frustrate us. But the truth is, no one has the power to make us angry or bothered unless we allow them to. The key lies in mastering our mindset, in taking control of how we interpret and respond to the world around us. At the core of it all is understanding that anger is not something that happens to us. It's something we create within ourselves. The moment we recognize this, we reclaim our power. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of circumstances or people's words, we become aware that we alone dictate our emotional state. It may seem difficult at first, especially when faced with direct provocation. But with the right mindset, it becomes second nature to remain unshaken. Everything starts with perception. The way we see a situation determines the way we feel about it. If someone cuts us off in traffic, we can choose to see it as a deliberate act of rudeness, feeling our anger, or we can choose to see it as an insignificant event, something that doesn't deserve our energy. Maybe that person was in a rush for a reason we don't know. Maybe it had nothing to do with us at all. Most of the time, what bothers us is not the event itself, but the meaning we attach to it. And when we change that meaning, we change the way we feel. Another powerful realization is that people's actions are a reflection of them, not of us. When someone lashes out, criticizes, or behaves negatively, they are expressing their own inner struggles, not making a statement about our worth. Understanding this makes it easier to detach. Instead of reacting emotionally, we can observe from a place of clarity. A person filled with anger and negativity is like a storm. They are chaotic, but their chaos does not have to pull us in. We can simply step aside, letting the storm pass without becoming part of it. Training ourselves to remain calm in all situations requires awareness. The moment we start feeling irritated or offended, we can pause and ask ourselves, is this worth my peace? More often than not, the answer will be no. By catching these emotions early, we prevent them from escalating. Taking a deep breath, shifting focus, or even smiling internally at how insignificant the issue truly is can create an instant shift in our emotional state. People often believe that staying calm means suppressing emotions, but it's quite the opposite. It's about understanding them so deeply that they no longer control us. When we see anger as a fleeting reaction rather than something we must hold on to, it loses its grip on us. Instead of resisting negative emotions, we acknowledge them, allow them to pass, and choose not to feed them with unnecessary thoughts. Another important step is choosing where we place our energy. Every day, we have a limited amount of mental and emotional energy. Wasting it on frustrations, arguments, or minor annoyances drains us of the power we could use for something meaningful. When we consciously decide that our energy is too valuable to be spent on anger, we naturally stop giving power to things that once upset us. We start living with a sense of emotional discipline where nothing external can dictate our state of mind. The more we strengthen this mindset, the more we begin to see a pattern. What once triggered us no longer has an effect. Words that once stung now feel empty. Situations that once irritated us now seem unimportant. We begin to understand that peace is not something we find outside, but something we create within. And so, as we go through life, we must ask ourselves, do we want to be at the mercy of others, or do we want to be in control of our emotions? The answer is clear. Mastering our mindset is not about avoiding difficult situations. It's about rising above them. It's about realizing that we are bigger than any fleeting annoyance, stronger than any passing frustration, and in full control of how we experience every moment. One of the biggest reasons we feel angry or bothered by others is because of our own expectations. We expect people to treat us a certain way, to behave according to our standards, to think like we do, and to respect our feelings. But reality doesn't work that way. People are driven by their own perspectives, experiences, and emotions. When we attach ourselves too strongly to the idea that others should behave how we want them to, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The more rigid our expectations, the more easily we are shaken when people don't meet them. A major part of remaining unbothered by others is letting go of this need to control how they act. We don't have to agree with someone to accept that they have the right to their own thoughts and behaviors. The world is not here to cater to our preferences, and people are not obligated to treat us the way we think they should. The moment we stop expecting others to change for us, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration. Closely tied to expectations is our attachment to the ego, the image we hold of ourselves. Most of the time, when we feel offended, it's not because of what someone said or did, but because of how it made us feel about ourselves. If someone disrespects us, we feel the need to defend our pride. If someone ignores us, we take it personally, as if it's a reflection of our worth. But in reality, people's actions are about them, not about us. If someone speaks harshly, it's a reflection of their inner state, not our value. When we let go of the need to prove ourselves or seek validation from others, we become immune to their negativity. Imagine how freeing it is to walk through life without constantly taking offense, to hear a rude comment and feel nothing, to be ignored and not care, to face criticism without it affecting our peace. This isn't about becoming indifferent or emotionless. It's about understanding that our worth isn't determined by how others treat us. The moment we detach from the need for external validation, we become unshakable. Another source of frustration comes from trying to change others. We often believe that if someone just saw things from our perspective, they would act differently. But the truth is, people don't change unless they want to. Trying to force someone to understand, agree, or behave a certain way is a battle that only drains us. The most peaceful way to live is to accept that others are as they are. This doesn't mean we have to tolerate mistreatment. It simply means we stop expecting people to be different from who they choose to be. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop suffering over things we can't control. It means choosing peace over proving a point, choosing inner strength over reacting emotionally, and choosing to focus on what truly matters instead of getting lost in petty frustrations. When we detach from ego and expectations, we realize that we no longer need to fight for things that don't serve us. And we don't have to engage in every argument. We don't have to explain ourselves to those who won't listen. And we don't have to waste energy on people who refuse to understand. There is immense power in simply allowing things to be as they are. When we drop the need to control others, defend our pride, or demand that people meet our expectations, we become truly free. And in that freedom, we find peace. In the end, we can't control how others behave, but we can control how we respond. And when we no longer expect the world to conform to our desires, we stop giving it the power to disturb our peace. Emotions are powerful, and without control, they can dictate our entire experience of life. When we allow anger, irritation, or frustration to take over, we give away our peace. We let external situations decide how we feel, and in doing so, we lose control over our own well-being. But emotions don't have to control us. With discipline, we can train ourselves to respond to any situation with calmness, no matter what is happening around us. The first step to emotional discipline is awareness. Most people react to situations on autopilot. If someone is rude, they immediately feel anger. If something doesn't go their way, they instantly feel frustrated. But in reality, there's always a gap between what happens and how we respond. In that gap lies the choice to let go or to hold on, to react or to remain still. The more aware we become of this gap, the more control we gain over our emotions. Instead of instantly reacting, we pause. We observe our feelings without being controlled by them. It may seem difficult at first because we've been conditioned to react impulsively. But the more we practice, the easier it becomes. The moment we notice anger rising, we take a deep breath. We remind ourselves that reacting emotionally only drains us. We shift our focus away from the trigger and back to ourselves. We ask, is this worth disturbing my peace? Almost always, the answer is no. The ability to step back and regain control in these moments is what separates those who are easily bothered from those who remain unshaken. Another key to emotional discipline is refusing to let small things affect us. Most frustrations in life are not significant. A rude comment, a delay, an inconvenience, none of these actually harm us. What harms us is our attachment to them. The more importance we give to small annoyances, the more control they have over us. But when we see them for what they are, insignificant and temporary, they lose their power. Imagine someone cutting in line ahead of us. We can get irritated, letting it ruin our mood, or we can simply let it go and move on. In the grand scheme of life, does it matter? Most of the things that make us angry hold no real weight, yet we allow them to take up space in our minds. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. Discipline also means mastering our thoughts. What we focus on determines how we feel. If we keep replaying an insult or a frustrating moment, we keep feeding negative emotions. But if we redirect our mind to something productive, we instantly regain peace. Thoughts create emotions, so when we learn to control our thoughts, we gain control over our emotional state. We don't have to entertain every thought that arises. Just because a negative thought appears doesn't mean we have to engage with it. We can choose to let it pass, just like clouds in the sky. The more we practice this, the less control external situations have over us. People often mistake emotional discipline for suppression, but they are completely different. Suppression means forcing emotions down and pretending they don't exist. Discipline means acknowledging emotions, understanding them, and deciding not to let them control us. It is the difference between feeling angry but choosing not to act on it versus denying that anger exists at all. True strength comes from facing emotions, not avoiding them. A powerful way to strengthen emotional discipline is by adopting a mindset of neutrality. Instead of labeling situations as good or bad, we can simply see them as experiences. If we spill coffee on ourselves, instead of thinking, this is terrible, we can think, this is just something that happened. If someone is rude, instead of taking it personally, we can recognize that it is just their behavior, not a reflection of us. By removing emotional labels from situations, we create space for calmness. Nothing has meaning until we assign it one. When we choose neutral or positive interpretations, we maintain peace effortlessly. Practicing discipline also means choosing our battles wisely. Not every disagreement needs a response. Not every rude person deserves our attention. If someone insults us, we don't have to engage. If an argument isn't going anywhere, we can walk away. Emotional strength isn't about winning fights. It's about knowing which ones are worth our energy. More often than not, the best response is no response. As we develop emotional discipline, we start to notice something powerful. What once triggered us no longer does. We no longer get upset over delays, insults, or inconveniences. We no longer feel the need to react to every annoyance. We become steady, unmoved by the chaos around us. And in that stillness, we find peace. In the end, our emotions should serve us, not control us. When we discipline our minds, we take back our power. And when we remain calm, no one and nothing can disturb our inner peace. One of the most powerful ways to remain unbothered by others is to cultivate a deep sense of understanding and compassion. Most of the time, when people act in a way that irritates or angers us, it has little to do with us and everything to do with their own internal struggles. People are shaped by their experiences, their fears, their insecurities, and their challenges. When someone is rude, dismissive, or aggressive, they are often projecting their own pain onto the world. Once we recognize this, it becomes much easier to detach from their negativity and respond with patience rather than frustration. Instead of taking things personally, we can choose to see people as they are human, imperfect, and dealing with their own battles. If someone snaps at us, instead of immediately feeling offended, we can pause and consider what they might be going through. Perhaps they are overwhelmed, stressed, or dealing with something difficult. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it allows us to rise above it rather than getting dragged into unnecessary conflict. Understanding that people's actions are often a reflection of their own emotions rather than a direct attack on us gives us the ability to remain calm and unaffected. The more we practice this perspective, the more we realize how rarely people's behavior is actually about us. A person who is constantly negative may be struggling with personal pain. Someone who is impatient may be dealing with their own inner turmoil. A person who seems distant may simply be lost in their own thoughts. When we take a step back and see beyond their surface actions, we develop a sense of empathy that protects us from unnecessary anger. Instead of reacting emotionally, we respond with wisdom. Instead of engaging in arguments, we let things go. Instead of feeling offended, we remind ourselves that everyone is dealing with something. Another way to develop this mindset is to remember the times when we ourselves have been frustrated or upset and may have acted in a way that wasn't our best. There have been moments when we have been short-tempered, impatient, or distant, not because we meant to hurt anyone, but because we were dealing with our own emotions. Just as we want others to understand us in those moments, we can extend that same understanding to them. Realizing that we all have moments of weakness makes it easier to let go of anger and replace it with patience. Compassion also means recognizing that people are at different levels of awareness. Some individuals have not yet developed emotional maturity, and expecting them to behave differently only leads to frustration. Instead of resenting them, we can accept that they are where they are in their journey. If a child throws a tantrum, we don't take it personally. We recognize that they lack understanding. In the same way, when an adult behaves irrationally or selfishly, we can view them with the same level of detachment, knowing that they are still learning, even if they don't realize it. This doesn't mean we allow others to mistreat us. It simply means we stop reacting emotionally to their behavior. We learn to set boundaries with wisdom rather than anger. If someone is disrespectful, we don't need to argue or prove a point. We can simply remove ourselves from the situation without resentment. Responding with calmness is not weakness, it is strength. It is the power to remain in control of our own emotions rather than letting others dictate them. When we embrace compassion, we also stop expecting perfection from others. No one will always say the right thing, behave the right way, or meet our expectations. People will make mistakes, disappoint us, and act selfishly at times. But just as we want to be forgiven for our flaws, we can extend that same forgiveness to others. The moment we stop expecting people to be perfect, we stop feeling angry when they fall short. We start seeing them for who they are, human beings, just like us, navigating their own struggles. As we continue to develop understanding and patience, we begin to notice that situations that once triggered us no longer do. We become less reactive, more peaceful, and more in control of our emotions. We no longer allow minor frustrations to disturb our state of mind. We no longer take things personally. We no longer feel the need to prove ourselves. Instead, we move through life with a sense of calmness that nothing and no one can shake. In the end, when we approach life with understanding and compassion, we free ourselves from unnecessary anger. And in that freedom, we find true peace.